What is going on, everybody? Welcome to a special Saturday afternoon edition of the SmackDown post-show reaction. A little bit delayed on my part, but I'm glad nonetheless here to be with you talking about SmackDown, and obviously a little bit of a recap of what occurred on Friday night, as well as a preview for what will take place later today at the Survivor Series. Of course, there's two War Games matchups, a couple of titles on the line as well, so we'll get to that in a moment here. But obviously, you see the thumbnail, you see the title of the video. What was everyone expecting and what was anticipating for in this episode of SmackDown? Of course, I'm referring to the segment between the best in the world, CM Punk and Roman Reigns, the OTC, with Paul Heyman, the wise man, in between the two of them. A story that really hasn't been explored a ton in terms of on-screen, in terms of the storytelling that the WWE has done. CM Punk's time in the WWE since his return at last year's Survivor Series has really been centered around his relationship, his feud with Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre. Both two feuds that really are mirroring reality. They try to blend what is fake and what is fact, rather. And that's what I think is so interesting when it comes to this Roman Reigns story, because if you go all the way back to 2012, when Roman Reigns and The Shield first debuted, their first appearance was at the 2012 edition of the Survivor Series, where they interfered on the behalf of then WWE Champion CM Punk, who had Paul Heyman by his side during that duration of the 434-day title reign. Now, initially, CM Punk on the podcast, the Art of Wrestling podcast, with his former friend Colt Cabana, had discussed that he wanted, a group of guys to follow him around, to basically help be his heater, allowing him to retain the championship against the likes of John Cena and Ryback. Now, his initial pitch was it to be Jon Moxley, then known as Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, and Chris Hero, also known as Cassius Ohno. But the WWE's, Vince McMahon and Triple H, decided, we'll give you two, but let's fit in one of our guys. And they had selected Roman Reigns. Punk acquiesced. He said, you know what? Fine. You guys want to have one of your guys in there? Totally fine. Then we move on. And a year later, CM Punk obviously has the walkout following the Royal Rumble event, where he would be gone from wrestling for, 11 years? Really? No, not 11 years, but about 10 years with the WWE, 7 years until he would return to professional wrestling by showing up in AEW. CM Punk and Roman Reigns, that relationship in real life hasn't really been explored. We know that there's a little bit of dissension between comments that Punk had made regarding the pushing of Roman Reigns. There was a matchup at TLC 2013 where it was a 3-on-1 handicap match, and they really wanted CM Punk to focus in on putting over Roman Reigns. Punk is winning the match. If you recall, he had defeated The Shield in a 3-on-1 handicap match, but the message that was sent was, you gotta make Roman look strong. Basically insinuating that the WWE and, the people in power wanted to push Roman Reigns as the next top baby face. Some people can make the argument that this comment by CM Punk saying, they wanted to push him to the moon, they wanted to make him look strong, was a key contributor to the backlash that Roman Reigns had suffered for many years, struggling as the baby face of the company to the point where they had to turn him heel. And I think that was probably the best decision that could have been made in regards to the Roman Reigns character. But nonetheless, maybe a little bit of dissension there. Maybe a little bit of tension between the two. But to see it unfold on TV, to see them actually have a sit-down, conversation with Paul Heyman just right there. Excuse me. It was fascinating because that is two parts of Paul Heyman's life coming together. He was with CM Punk for a great duration of his time in ECW. Obviously, we talked about the WWE title reign from 2012 to 2013. And to see that part of Paul Heyman where it seemed like he was having fun. When he was with Brock, it was business. When he's been with Roman, he's been the wise man. It's been business. Yeah, he's had his fun every now and then with the Usos. But with CM Punk, it really seemed like he was having the most fun between those three stars. So fast forward his time to Roman Reigns. As I mentioned, the wise man, Hall of Famer, I think the greatest manager of all time. and you pair him up with CM Punk and Roman. It's like seeing, your current significant other and then your ex. And to have them in the room can be a little awkward. And we saw in that interaction between the two, Roman Reigns told Punk, I don't trust you. I don't like your attitude. And that's one thing too. Roman Reigns, I feel like, will end up being the detriment to his own success. Because of Roman Reigns' lack of acceptance in terms of Paul Heyman's involvement with CM Punk, it lends itself to the level of insecurity and the trust issues that he's developed since the breakup of the Shield. And I think that has always been the key point in the story of Roman Reigns. You all go back to the night of June 2nd, 2014, when Seth Rollins betrayed Roman Reigns, because since then, it's been trust issues, it's been insecurities, and it's been Roman Reigns not being able to get over himself, to allow his ego to step aside and do what needs to be done. He understands they're outnumbered 5-4, yet he'd rather go in there 4-on-5 without the help of CM Punk. Now I get it, he doesn't like CM Punk. You don't have to like CM Punk. But it's like Punk said. Punk reciprocated, that feeling. He says, you don't like me, you don't like my attitude, that's fine. I don't like you. But at the end of the day, Punk said, I'm not here for you, Roman. I'm here for Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman had asked CM Punk for help when the bloodline, Solo's bloodline, was antagonizing him prior to the attack at Madison Square Garden. Where was Roman? He wasn't there. He wasn't around. Punk was. And Punk obviously wasn't there for the attack, but he's been the one that has been saying, I'm here for Paul. I'm here for our wise man. Punk, in his first promo since returning at the Survivor Series last year, even called out Roman Reigns and said he was my wise man before he was yours. CM Punk was the original Paul Heyman guy. Now I know people are going to make the argument, well, what about the Dangerous Alliance? What about Brock Lesnar? Well, yeah, he was their manager, he was their advocate, he was their agent. But CM Punk was the guy that coined the phrase, the Paul Heyman guy. So again, to see these two titans of the WWE, these two titans in professional wrestling, CM Punk and Roman Reigns, arguably two of the more polarizing figures in all of pro wrestling, in the same room, having to come to the agreement that we do not like this bloodline. One, because they have Roman's Ulafala, and two, because they want revenge for Paul Heyman. That in itself is a very interesting point of the dichotomy between Roman Reigns and Punk, their motives. Roman wants to get back at Solo. It was never about the wise man. Yeah, sure, he's had some moments of emotion where he looks to his side and he sees but Paul Heyman's not there. Those early entrances when he returned and the wise man wasn't by his side, he looked over looking for the wise man. He wasn't there. But the main focus for Roman Reigns has always been the Ulafala, to reclaim his rightful place as the tribal chief. And for CM Punk, when he came out on the previous episode of SmackDown, talking about how he was going to be the fifth man, or rather Paul Heyman was the one that said it, he came out all business, wrapped up his fist, and just went in for the attack. Roman's priority, Ulafala, the OTC, to reclaim what is his. He talks about putting the bloodline back on top. And Punk's is Paul Heyman. He has no allegiance to Jay, to Jimmy, to Sammy, certainly not to Roman. His is with Paul Heyman. And so we talk about at the conclusion of the segment, and CM Punk is there face to face with Roman Reigns, and he says, one time, one match, one favor. And Roman Reigns, again, looks at Punk and says, you're asking me for a favor? I'm going to owe you a favor? And I wish what they would have done here with the segment, rather. Punk looks at Roman in the eye and he says, not from you. I don't need anything from you. From Paul. That's the guy, my friend, who will owe me a favor. And I really wish what they would have done, had a little bit of an alteration to the lines, is had CM Punk told Roman, not everything is about you. Because I think that would have cut deep in Roman. Roman's over here assuming that I'm the one that's going to owe you a favor. And had Punk said, not everything's about you, that immediately will ignite a fire. There's already something brewing. But to have him say something like that, because I know Punk is capable of saying something like that, a little underlying jab for Roman Reigns. Not everything's about you. Because over the last 4 or 5 years, hell, if you want to argue since the Shield, over the last decade, it's been about Roman. So had he said, not everything's about you, Roman. Ooh, man, that would have been great. I thought that would have been fantastic. But he didn't say that, which is fine. We can fill in the blanks. He says, Paul Heyman's going to owe me a favor. The question that was on everybody's mind, and especially on Roman's, because once Punk left, he looks over to Paul and he says, Paul, what's the favor? And Paul Heyman, in his infinite wisdom, he tells Roman, let's just get through Survivor Series. Let's get through War Games and we'll have all the time in the world to talk about it. Now, I have 2 thoughts heading, into the direction of WrestleMania. CM Punk, is the favor going to be in relation to Roman Reigns, a matchup against Roman? Is it in relation to maybe a possible main event at WrestleMania? Because we know that that's been on CM Punk's bucket list his whole career. He hasn't been able to achieve that. He had a couple of shots. WrestleMania 28, he was a WWE champion. Rock versus Cena. WrestleMania 29, he was heading into as WWE champion. Rock versus Cena Part 2. WrestleMania 30, he walked out prior. Last year's WrestleMania, suffered an injury. This could be his best shot. He's had all these other shots. This would be his best shot. Is that a favor? Maybe. But the second train of thought also is Paul Heyman is a master of the promo. He is a godsend on the mic. Everything he does has a bit of subtlety to it, to where you have to pinpoint exactly what does he mean. It's our job to interpret what is the story that is being told. And Paul Heyman, if you remember last week on SmackDown, upon his return, shows up in a suit jacket, red shirt, little red pocket square, reminiscent to Solo Sikoa. That's not what Paul Heyman usually wears. It stuck out like a sore thumb. It was something different. So people started thinking, the wheels started turning. Is Paul Heyman going to turn heel? Will Paul Heyman side with Solo Sikoa and the Bloodline, the very same group that attacked him? Now, I don't think that's the case. I don't see why you would want to side with your attackers. But then there was this moment here where Paul Heyman looks over at Roman, again, upon being asked the question, what is the favor? And he looks at Roman and he says, let's worry about War Games. And then we'll have all the time in the world to talk about it. What does he have in store for War Games? What if Paul Heyman, in some sick, twisted swerve, is actually working with Solo? Crazy things have happened. If you remember, Paul Heyman and Roman Reigns weren't always seeing eye to eye. There was a time where Roman Reigns had attacked Paul Heyman because of his allegiance with Brock Lesnar 2 years ago in 2022. Did Paul Heyman have some hard feelings about that? Don't know. Again, these are just some theories getting thrown out there. But that wasn't the only thing that had taken place on SmackDown. Of course, Women's War Games is coming up. A big moment for the women because we have 10 of the very best on the roster in terms of the main roster, of course, because NXT is a loaded division. But we had a big brawl between all 10 women. And one thing I really enjoyed about this segment here to open up the show on SmackDown is that Nia Jax poking holes at the babyface team. We know what's going on with the heels, right? Nia Jax, the women's champion. She's also queen of the ring. She has Candice LeRae and Tiffany Stratton by her side. A little bit of tension between those two who are trying to gain the favor of Nia Jax, as well as keeping in mind that Tiffany Stratton is still the holder of the Money in the Bank contract, which guarantees her a championship opportunity against either Liv Morgan or Nia Jax. And on top of that, of course, Raquel and Liv Morgan on the team as well. Liv Morgan and Nia Jax had their differences at Crown Jewel, but the real story here is on the babyface side. Jade Cargill's attacker has yet to be revealed. Some theories have been thrown out there. People like Bayley, people like Naomi. I personally wouldn't put it past Bianca Belair. That's just me throwing out a curveball. But what I really liked is Nia Jax poking holes. And what I mean by that is she talked about how, Bianca, what are you doing? You're teaming with Io Sky and Bayley, who had terrorized you for the better part of a year as members of Damage Control. And speaking of Damage Control, Bayley, You're teaming with Io Sky, who attacked you literally earlier this year during the build to WrestleMania 40. And of course, Rhea Ripley is on this team. Is it really a team? Her vendetta is against Liv Morgan. So what really here? How is this going to work? Are the baby faces going to be able to coexist with one another here? If you saw my predictions video, I had obviously picked the heels. I think the heels are the ones that are going to actually lose this matchup. I think the baby faces find a way. They get the win. Hopefully this ends the Rhea versus Liv Morgan story, and we continue moving past that. If we're going to revisit it for WrestleMania, so be it. But for the time being, let's put it on pause. We've had it run over the course of the year, right? I think we have the heels lose because that tension between Tiffany and Nia is only going to grow. And whether it's going to lead to a WrestleMania matchup or not, I think that's going to be the ultimate end game for Tiffany Stratton. Now, what I think is interesting is will she be a babyface or will she be the heel? I don't see them turning Nia heel, or turning her babyface rather. So would that make Tiffany a babyface, which I think in itself is interesting. I prefer her as a heel, but hey, she's very charismatic. She has a great move set. Maybe she can pull it off. That was the Women's War Games matchup. The next matchup, of course, had implications for Survivor Series because Shinsuke Nakamura, who debuted a new theme song of his own, a little remix of his classic theme song here, would defeat Andrade in a competitive matchup. But again, if you watch the post-show reactions, you know that when it comes to this kind of matchup, it's one of those smages where it's really the post-match antics that really steal the show. LA Knight comes out to confront his challenger for the Survivor Series tonight, and Nakamura able to dodge his attack and blows this black mist in his face, a la Tajiri, the Great Muta. A lot of classics in terms of who uses the mist. Even Asuka had used the mist there for a second. I like this new presentation of Nakamura. It's a darker tone. We saw him have his heelish tendencies last year with his feud with Seth Rollins, which I liked. He seemed more of like a vengeful character out hunting his prey. And with this Nakamura now, even darker. You know, you have the presentation with the black around his eyes, very black gear. The entrance is very ominous. I like this look. I'm all for Nakamura being presented with more opportunities. Now, my only question is leading up to the matchup here at the Survivor Series, what are they going to do? They've had Nakamura get the best of LA Knight not once, not twice, but 3 different occasions. Are they going to have him complete the sweep 4-0 and defeat LA Knight for the championship? I personally don't think so. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's very rare we're going to see a guy like LA Knight get, the better of from Nakamura on 4 different occasions consecutively. But at the same time, it's like you're bringing Nakamura back, and it's like, are you going to have him lose his first championship opportunity? That's a stretch too. So I look at it and I say, maybe it's going to end in some kind of DQ finish. In the predictions video, I had predicted LA Knight would win, and I stand by that. I'm doing well. Thank you for joining the live stream. Appreciate you, and I hope you guys enjoyed SmackDown just as much as I do. Please feel free to jump in the chat, ask questions, comments, predictions for the Survivor Series later tonight, or what were your thoughts on the CM Punk and Roman Reigns interaction. We're talking about Nakamura, and like I said, I think it's going to be a DQ finish now. I stick with LA Knight winning and retaining that title, but I don't know. It might be a DQ finish because I just can't see them having either one lose. What do you guys think? Moving past that, Kevin Owens also had a little bit of a segment there describing why he was in the right, and this was a perfect promo, I thought, in terms of the lead up to Saturday night's main event, his matchup against Cody Rhodes for the WWE title. And I look at how they've been building this. This is probably a subtle story in terms of long-term story. It feels very immediate because it was only a few months ago that we had Cody Rhodes versus Kevin Owens at the Bash in Berlin, right? But what Kevin Owens dives into is basically the entire story of the bloodline. He was there from the beginning. He talked about how in 2021, how he had feuded with Roman Reigns, how he had been ran over at the Royal Rumble, how he had been attacked by them back in 2020, how he was attacked by them in 2023 when he lost at the Royal Rumble. Obviously, that led to the turn of Sami Zayn. And he says, I've been fighting the bloodline this whole time. And the night on Royal Rumble 2023, when he had lost to Roman, again, the night that Sami Zayn had turned babyface, he says, where was Cody? Because Cody was in the building. He won the WWE Royal Rumble event. Surely he could have had some assistance, right? He wasn't there. But then he points the finger at Cody Rhodes and says, but where was he during Bad Blood, when Roman Reigns needed a partner for the bloodline? He was there to team with Roman Reigns, the man that they had vowed to take down. And that's Kevin Owens' problem. Cody Rhodes is helping the guy who reigned over the WWE, wreaking havoc, causing chaos, and just flat out decimating the roster, ruling the WWE with an iron fist. So Kevin Owens isn't wrong. Maybe the way he's going about it is, maybe he's blown it out of proportion, but at the root of it all, Kevin Owens is right. And I know a couple of videos back during a reaction to SmackDown, I had said that, that t-shirt, Kevin is right, it's not going to do anything. It's not going to move numbers. But in a way, Kevin is right. It's a dangerous game to be playing here with the Cody Rhodes character. You could have some people turn against Cody. Now, speaking as someone that went to Monday Night Raw this past week, also be on the lookout. We'll be uploading a video on my time at Monday Night Raw, showing a little bit of highlights and behind the scenes footage of our time over there. I was there in attendance, and it was 100% Cody Rhodes. He's super over as a babyface. The Kevin Owens heel turn, I think, was done so well that it got him over as a heel, but it maintains Cody's credibility as a babyface. Kevin Owens versus Cody Rhodes not being at the Survivor Series is a choice. I think it would have fit fine on the card, especially because it's one of the bigger PLEs. But I think in terms of business and logistics, it makes sense for it to be at Saturday night's main event. If there's one match that could headline a huge show like that, a premiere show like that, certainly you want to have Cody Rhodes on that show. You want to have one of your bigger storylines being presented, and of course Kevin Owens versus he has been something that's been dominating the fall of SmackDown. So a little sacrifice there for Survivor Series for a potential gain at Saturday night's main event. I'm looking forward to it. I want to hear what you guys think about that matchup. Who are you siding with? Do you think Kevin Owens is right? Do you think Cody Rhodes is in the right to be teaming with Roman Reigns? It was one time, Sometimes we have to make an exception, and Kevin Owens can't see past that. So what do you guys think about the Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes storyline? Because that wasn't the only time we saw or heard of Cody Rhodes. He would defeat Carmelo Hayes in another solid matchup. This is a rematch of their match from months prior, where Carmelo Hayes was one of the first round draft picks for SmackDown. He faced Cody Rhodes again in a losing effort, but here another step was taken for Carmelo Hayes. I feel like these are great little checkpoints for Melo. I think Melo's going to be a huge star. I think he has all the intangibles. I think he has the charisma, the mic work, the in-ring work, the presentation, the look. Carmelo Hayes is going to be a future star. I'm talking main eventing shows. I look at the rise. Call me crazy, but I could see something similar to like a John Cena. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be exactly John Cena, but that potential rise, I could see Carmelo Hayes in that position. You've seen some similarities between he and like Shawn Michaels because of their charisma, the in-ring work, some of the stories that have been told using Carmelo. I think he's destined for great things. And to see him in another match with Cody sets another benchmark of like, okay, this is where you were back then, a few months ago around the draft, and now this is where you're at now. He had a great 7-match series against Andrade. Ironically enough, the two actually would take losses here on SmackDown, but I don't think that harms them in the long run. I think for the sake of the stories being told, it makes sense to have them lose those matches, but I very much would like to see Carmelo Hayes in the U.S. title picture more, and if not, and they decide to push him to the main event scene, even better. Even better. Because I think that title scene is going to need some help. The Bloodline storyline obviously is dominating. Kevin Owens having his title shot already. Maybe Randy Orton in the near future. But aside from that, who else is there? Carmelo Hayes, I think, would be a great addition to the main event scene. Certainly as a potential challenger for Cody Rhodes. We talked about the United States Championship title scene. the women's division is getting a mid-card title. I don't know if you heard that. They're getting a mid-card title after so long, especially with the crop of talent that they have on the main roster and the talent that will be coming from NXT. Loaded. There's not enough TV time. There's not enough championships. So granted, you're going to go ahead and make them the US title. Robertson says The Rock will return to Survivor Series tonight. I like the way you think. And that's something I didn't touch upon. I think you're right. I would like to sideline with you there. I think you're 100% right. If The Rock doesn't show up, we'll get to Mia Yim and the US title picture real quick, but I want to talk about this. I think The Rock shows up. And if he doesn't, I'm going to be really surprised. Because The Rock's inclusion with the bloodline and the story has kind of taken a little stop and start. A little stop and start approach here. We haven't seen him since Bad Blood. Prior to that, we hadn't seen him since WrestleMania time, right? The night after WrestleMania. The Rock, I think, will return at Survivor Series. There's time for that. Obviously, if you saw, he had been filming Moana, the live-action Moana, while they have Moana 2 coming out, which I think is ridiculous that they have back-to-backs going there. The Rock will face with Roman Reigns. Yeah. Because he had that face-off at Bad Blood. If you remember, he had the face-off with Jimmy, with Roman, and with Cody Rhodes. And people weren't sure who he was approaching, who he was referring to when he did the whole, Could it have been Cody? Maybe. But I don't think Rock is very happy that Jimmy and Roman are teaming with Cody Rhodes. I don't think so. I think you're right in that he will return. He will have a face-off. He'll give the people's elbow to... I don't know if he'll give the people's elbow. I don't know if The Rock gets physical. I don't think we get any kind of physicality from The Rock until maybe the first Raw on Netflix. Around there. I think that's when we start getting more physical with The Rock. I think, if anything, it'll be very similar to his Bad Blood. I keep wanting to say Bloodline when I say Bad Blood. I think he'll have a very similar moment like at Bad Blood, where he's at the end of the show, maybe face to face. Maybe he gets close enough to the ring. Maybe he gets in the ring. I don't know. I don't see him getting physical. I could very much see, because my prediction, and if you haven't seen my prediction video, make sure to check it out. Wait, not see the final boss, The Rock. I predict the heels would win. I think Solo Sikoa and his bloodline goes over. I think they win the matchup. I think this sets forward in motion the next step for the bloodline saga. Because if Roman Reigns and the babyfaces win, it doesn't really make Solo and his group look good. You need to have some level of credibility as well. The Rock versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 41, Night 1. I think it'd be Night 2. If it happens at WrestleMania 41, because there's a lot to unpack there. Rock versus Roman Reigns is going to happen at WrestleMania. Guaranteed. It's just a matter of which one. Rock versus Roman could happen at WrestleMania 42. Maybe it happens at 41, but The Rock even said he has business with Cody Rhodes. The Rock versus Cody... Oh, okay. I see what you're saying now. You're saying Night 1, Rock versus Roman, WrestleMania. Night 2, Rock versus Cody, the very next year? Oh, you meant next night. Okay, I follow. But let me ask you, is it Rock versus Roman just straight up, or is it like winner gets the matchup against Cody? Because I've seen theories where it could be a triple threat, where it could be Rock, Roman, Cody. I don't know how I feel about that. I think it would make the most sense, though, because if they want to wait, The Rock versus Cody, I think, is the storyline that they've been hinting for next year's WrestleMania. Rock versus Roman, that's a story you could stretch past. The Rock will win the Royal Rumble. You think The Rock's going to win the Royal Rumble for the second time? It's been, 25 years? If he wins it next year, it'll be 25 years since he wins the Royal Rumble. I just don't see The Rock winning it, though. Because The Rock is like a figure where he doesn't need to win the Royal Rumble. Look, The Rock is literally being presented as one of the lead members of the board. He could pull an old Vince McMahon trick and just insert himself in the matchup. That will give him that heel credibility. He doesn't have to win the Rumble. Plus, I'll be honest with you. I don't know. The Rock is my friend and my fan. I don't know. The Rock is someone that doesn't need a Royal Rumble win. It's like how when Brock Lesnar won the Money in the Bank, it's like they don't need it. They can get title matches just by some sort of explanation. Obviously you want them to win it and have a reasoning behind it. Nah, I'm gonna have to disagree with. I don't think he wins the championship. I don't think he wins the championship. Would it be interesting? Would it be crazy? Yeah, absolutely. What a swerve, right? The Rock, who is the member of the board, who's one of the biggest movie stars in all of Hollywood, as the WWE champion. Yeah, it'd be crazy. If he does win it, I'm gonna hear you out, right? I'm gonna play devil's advocate. If he does win the championship, it's for a short time. I can't see Rock holding that title for an extended time, because you have to be there to be the WWE champion. You have to. I know Roman and like Cody have been missing pay-per-views. Like Cody's not gonna be at the Survivor Series. There were times where Roman was only defending the title like 7 times a year, but for the most part, they were still present. The Rock is gonna be out doing movies. They're gonna be out doing publicity. I can't see him win the championship unless if it's like, hear me out, like with your whole night 1, night 2 prediction. Let's say he wins at night 1 and then drops at night 2. The Rock beat CM Punk for the WWE Championship. Yeah, he did. This is true. But he only held it for 3 months. That's something similar. He held it for 3 months. And if anything, he at least showed up to Elimination Chamber the following month. So it wasn't like he was gone for an extended period of time. He was at the Rumble. He was at next month's Elimination Chamber. Then he dropped the title at the next month's WrestleMania. If it's something like that, okay, I can get on board with it. But I just don't think it's going to be like that. I mean, we were lucky to have that level of momentum and that the moments that happened in the lead up to WrestleMania 40. Can they replicate it? Maybe. But I mean, we got to see. We got to wait and see. To have CM Punk versus The Rock. Oh man, I have to remember that. I remember being so upset when he beat Punk for the title. 434 days. When they could have done that. See, and there was the whole theory that they could have done a triple threat match at WrestleMania 29. Where Punk loses. Like it's an elimination match. Punk loses. Then you're left with Cena versus Rock. And I think we're kind of falling back into place with that. Roman Reigns is the John Cena position. Rock is Rock. Cody is Punk. Both champions, Punk and Rhodes, are caught in between the story between The Rock and Roman Reigns / John Cena. We want to see The Rock versus Roman Reigns. We also want to see The Rock versus Cody Rhodes. We want to see what goes on, what's going to happen for this storyline. It's a storyline that's been going on for years. So to hotshot it is a mistake. I certainly think so. The Undertaker beat Batista. Yeah, he did, but he was still full-time. When The Undertaker beat Batista, that was in 2007. The Undertaker didn't go part-time until 2010. So, that's a great factoid. Thank you for bringing that up, but that's not the same thing. The Undertaker was still a full-time wrestler. My point is full-time wrestler. Roman Reigns, again, for an example, if Roman Reigns beats Cody, he's still a full-time wrestler. Granted, he doesn't show up as much, but he shows up more than The Rock. Between The Rock and Roman Reigns, that for me is two different things. The Rock he's more Hollywood than he is a wrestler. So The Undertaker beating Batista, I don't agree. That is not the same thing. He is a full-time wrestler. The Rock returned in 2011. Yes, he did. He returned in 2011. For what? Think about that. February. In February, he returns. To do what? To host WrestleMania 27. The only physicality he had was a rock bottom to John Cena. Okay? Then he does his whole May 2nd birthday bash in 2011 when they were in Miami, whatever. Then we don't see The Rock for months. We don't see The Rock until the build-up to the Survivor Series. Months later. He has a tag team match with John Cena. We know what happens. He beat the Awesome Truth. Then we fast forward. We don't see The Rock again until the build-up to WrestleMania 28. Granted, We know it's happening because the night after WrestleMania 27, it was announced a year in advance he will fight John Cena. Randy Orton wins the Men's Royal Rumble. He did. Now you're just listing off facts. Randy Orton did win the Royal Rumble in 2009 and 2017, and I was against the 2017 win because he had already won it. Now, I'm not a fan of multiple, people who win multiple Royal Rumbles. I even looked at the Cody Rhodes one. When Cody went back to back, I was even stunned because it's like I didn't think they were going to do it, one. But two, you were running the risk of having people just not like Cody because he was winning again. I don't like it. I like to have it propel the newer stars to the top. Now, I will make the exception for story. Cody Rhodes' story warranted it. Randy Orton's story warranted it. John Cena won in 20... What are you doing, man? Yeah, and Batista won in 2005. Batista won in 2014. Shawn won 95 and 96. Hogan won in 90 and 91. Stone Cold won 3 Royal Rumbles. I'm just going to beat you to it here. Triple H won 2002 and 2016. Those are guys who have won multiple Royal Rumbles. That's right. So, if you want to list out another Royal Rumble fact, Braun Strowman won the greatest Royal Rumble in 2018 when it doesn't even count. Not even canon. They don't even talk about it no more. So, I mean, thank you for listing out these wrestling facts, but we've kind of lost the point of the conversation here. So let's go ahead and let's try to get back to it, shall we? Because I've totally moved past the SmackDown here. Mia Yim defeats Niven and Lash Legend, right? I think Mia Yim would be a perfect candidate for the first ever U.S. champion for the women. For me, it's between Chelsea, Mia, and Bayley. Love Bayley. Love her work. Does she need it? She doesn't need it. She's already a big star. We can use this as a way to propel someone like a Mia or like Chelsea Green. But there is a common theory here that whoever's the inaugural champion should be associated with someone with star power, just to give that little oomph, that little bit of importance and significance for history. And if you want that, then Bayley. I appreciate that, Alex. I keep up with the history, man. I grew up with it. It's all in here still, So I appreciate him. The Rock beat Hulk Hogan and Stone Cold Steve. He's yes. The Rock is the only man to beat Stone Cold, Hulk Hogan, and Roman Reigns, John Cena at WrestleMania. So imagine if he beats Roman Reigns, he basically beats, arguably, again, not my Mount Rushmore, but someone's Mount Rushmore if he beats Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. Thank you again. We talked about the U.S. Championship. If Bayley wins, she's a perfect candidate because of her career, right? It lends credibility to the title, but for me, I'm all about lifting up others. I love Chelsea Green. I think she's great. I think she's entertaining. It'd be a great story. But Mia Yim is someone that's been putting in work since her time at NXT. Brock Lesnar will not return Survival Series. No, he won't. Mia Yim. I promise we're going to get through this. Mia Yim or Chelsea Green, I think, should get the title. If you ask me right now, I'm saying Mia Yim. She's been putting in work since NXT. Her time with the OC. I think it's time we give Mia Yim that recognition. I would absolutely love it if it was like Bayley versus Mia Yim in the finals, Saturday night's main event. Book it. I'm going to call it right there. Jacob Fatu and Jey Uso. Those two in a matchup, man, we already knew. We knew it was going to be a solid matchup. No interference. That's what they promised. Nick Aldis said, hey, everyone's banned. But Jacob Fatu gets the victory over Jey Uso. And I will say, it's the right call. Jacob Fatu, keep in mind, this is his first singles match in the WWE on TV. He's been in nothing but tag team matches. He's been in nothing but multi-man matches, bunch of interference, and a great showing by Jacob Fatu to defeat Jey Uso, who is still Jey Uso. It doesn't hurt him. He's fine. He's still over, one of the top baby faces in the WWE, one of the top baby faces in pro wrestling. So it was the right call to have Jacob Fatu go over, giving the heels the the advantage at War Games, and they're gonna need it because when you have a team with Sammy, Jay, Jimmy, Roman, and Punk, super. That's a super team. Ridiculous. Solid episode of SmackDown. Looking forward to the Survivor Series, which is now just hours away. Anticipate some kind of reaction to that as well. I'll keep you updated in the community tab as to when that will air. More likely right after the show, but that's something for later today. Vince liked him. And see, now that we're done with SmackDown, I'd love to get back to the chat. Jacob says, I don't like Brock Lesnar. Vince liked him. Yeah. I never... Okay, I got Brock Lesnar. I get why they pushed him, right? He was a star. He was huge. He was an attraction. I get that. For business. I get that. For me, it's not for me. Don't get me wrong. There were some Brock Lesnar matches that I thought were great. Him versus CM Punk was one of my favorite Brock Lesnar matches, but it's very much in part due to CM Punk being involved. Him versus Daniel Bryan at Survivor Series. Him versus AJ Styles. I get it, but I'm not going to say Brock Lesnar is one of my favorites. I don't think he'd crack. Probably wouldn't even crack my top 30. Not a fan. Vince was a big fan, though. And the relationship between him and Brock is one of the more interesting ones that could be, discussed in a deep dive. But I don't know if we want to get into detail when it comes to the allegations. What do you think about Logan Paul? As a person, obviously I don't know him, but off of what we know, not a fan. Not a fan. But with that being said, I will give him credit. The way he's been able to transition to pro wrestling, it fits like a glove. He's a great heel. You love to hate him. I think I was surprised they tried to go babyface route early on, especially with Roman Reigns for that title. I think he's been a great addition to the roster. He's another example of a part-time wrestler because we haven't seen him since he lost the U.S. title, thankfully. He's okay with me. If you told me who would I prefer to watch, Brock or Logan, I'd probably skip out on both. But he's fine. Again, as a person, I don't know him, but off of what we know, not a fan. But that makes for a great heel. And I thought he did great against LA Knight. Had a solid matchup against Kevin Owens and Randy Orton at WrestleMania. And he's had some great moments. That's one thing you got to give him. He knows how to go viral. That's one thing you got to give him credit for. And I'm curious when he'll return. It'll probably be at the Royal Rumble. That's what I'm thinking. Kind of have a moment like he did with Ricochet during that one Royal Rumble spot where they both collided, something like that. Don't know who he would be going after in terms of a match, but we'll see how that goes. Survivor Series, obviously, like I said, later tonight. War Games matchups, who you guys picking? You got the Bloodline or the OG Bloodline. Team Bianca versus Team Nia or Team Rhea versus Team Liv, whoever you ask. We have a couple of title matches as well. Nakamura will be challenging LA Knight for the U.S. title. And then we have a triple threat match. Braun Breaker versus Sheamus and Kaiser. And what I think should be a great match. Might be able to steal the show. Gunther defends his title against Damian Priest for the world title. All that and obviously more during Survivor Series. Do you think Ray and Dom will ever team up? I think eventually. They will. But okay. I say eventually, but now it's I'm thinking. I think Ray is retiring soon. I'm not saying within the next couple months, but I think we have to come to grips that maybe he'll be retiring within the next year. And I think Dom should be the one to do it. I think Dom should retire him. So will they ever team up? Maybe not. I might have to retract my statement. They've already teamed up. They've won the tag team titles. They've already set out for that goal, and they've already achieved it. Maybe they don't need it. Maybe down the line, Dom gets a babyface run, and they're okay. But to team up, maybe they don't even do it. Rey Mysterio had defeated Dominic at back-to-back WrestleManias. Obviously, WrestleMania 39 and WrestleMania 40 in the tag team match. I was of the mindset that Dominic should have been the guy to retire Rey, maybe even do like a hair versus mask match, which I think would be awesome. Have Dom continue to grow the mullet out and have him versus Rey at WrestleMania. I don't know if it's at WrestleMania or not, but Dominic puts his mullet on the line, Rey puts his mask on the line, and that retires Rey. I think that's the way they could go. Rey obviously had lost to Dominic during the last few months. Liv Morgan had been helping Dominic win matches, and he got his first pinfall victory over Rey. I kind of was against it because I wanted that first win for Dominic over Rey to be Rey's last match. How poetic would that have been? However, he did win by cheating. What if we tell the story of Dominic versus Rey Mysterio? Again, probably WrestleMania, hair versus mask. And Dominic is able to beat Rey one-on-one, clean, retiring his father, taking away his mask, and the ultimate heel move. So I think that happens. I would very much like to see that and see Dominic go nuclear when it comes to being a heel, because he's already a good heel. But with that, I also kind of want to see Dominic as a babyface again. I like that idea. Mascara versus Mexican style lucha. Yeah, I think that'd be awesome to see Rey versus Dominic. Give these guys all the time in the world. And I don't know if they'll have any kind of involvement from the Judgment Day or LWO, if they're still a thing by then. But I think for sure that would be cool. Hair versus mask. And again, and it would be so similar to Eddie and Rey. And maybe it's overdone the way we compare the two, but because Eddie is so instrumental in the story of Dominic versus Rey, I think to kind of pay tribute to that match at Halloween Havoc, where it was mask versus title. Eddie was the Cruiserweight champion, Rey was putting on his mask on the line. You could have a lot of parallels to those matches. And sometimes they say that maybe history doesn't repeat itself, but it certainly rhymes. Meaning that it's parallel with one another. It's not exactly the same, but there are those similarities. Let's start a petition. Hey, you know I'm already down for it. Rey versus Dominic, mask versus hair. Book it. I'm telling you, it's going to happen. And if it doesn't happen, what a missed opportunity. And even then, if they go the other way around and they have Rey beat him to shave off his head, I could see that happening too, but Rey's already beat him twice at WrestleMania. Dominic needs to get his get back. And also, I think it would behoove Dominic to get the win. I think Rey wants to put over his son. He wants to make sure he's set for the future. And the way to do it is Rey losing to his son, biggest stage of them all, retire match, and he takes off his mask. That's literally giving Dominic a golden platter of like just being over to get that. Not only over with the crowd, but over in terms of credibility. I don't know what else to say. Dominic versus Rey. And that's very much one of the storylines that I've always have been interested in, no matter how long it's been, because it was in 2005, where it was one of my favorite years as a kid growing up as a pro wrestling fan. So to see that storyline being told now, having the inclusion of Eddie Guerrero, obviously there's a bit of history there. And because of the pride for the Hispanic and the Latin community to see Rey and Dominic on TV, I want to see it again. And I like how there's always like these slight references to one another. It's a storyline that's like going on forever. Even when they're not feuding, they're feuding. And they try to keep it kayfabe. And they're talking to the media, talking outside of the ring, talking outside of the company. They keep it kayfabe, man. And that's the way to do it. I recently saw that Dominic has a tattoo, or tattoos I should say, on his knuckles, where it has like the masks of influential, luchadores. Guys like El Santo, Mil Máscaras, Blue Demon, Conan, Psychosis, just to name a few. And I thought that was so cool. Such a way to honor, Lucha Libre and just honor the greats. So I don't know how long he's had that tattoo, or those tattoos I should say, on his knuckles, but such a cool concept, and the way he did it, awesome. You should message him. You've met him. You are so easygoing. I can see you talking your way. I don't know. Can you imagine that that's how like I get in the head? But it's like, okay, one, I appreciate it. Thank you for the comment. Thank you for the comment, Alex. Appreciate it as always. You don't think he's already thought of it? I mean, he's such he's been in the business for so long. I'm sure it's crossed his mind, having that, a retirement matchup against his son, hair versus mask. It's had to cross his mind. He's a savant when it comes to lucha libre, and Rey Mysterio, and I'm sure Dominic has came up with it too, because it's there, it's literally there. Hair versus mask. It's an obvious route to go. I would love to see it. Can you imagine? But it's okay. I did meet him, and that was an awesome moment to meet Rey Mysterio, who again, super cool guy, took his time with everybody, was real cordial, was real nice to these random kids that were meeting him, and I hope that a lot of people get that interaction with him, because Rey Mysterio is one of the all-time greats, not only for what he's done for the business, but just as a person. You see him on TV, you see him outside of the ring. He just seems like a genuine guy, right? Mask versus hair. What are some other WrestleMania matchups you guys would like to see? I know we talked about it earlier. Rock, Roman, and Cody. Some kind of variation between that. I think Punk versus Seth Rollins has to happen. That's for sure a match that will take place at WrestleMania. Probably this one coming up because it was supposed to be at last year's. I've seen some people want to see Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn again. Dom said he's naming his first son like his dad. I didn't know that. But but is he naming him Ray or Oscar? That's what I want to know. Oh, like Eddie. Oh, that's so good. You got me there. I'm thinking Ray, and you said Eddie. Man, that'd be fantastic. Man, that's great. Eddie. Sometimes I wonder what he would be doing. Like, what would Eddie be thinking about? Seeing Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio and that storyline, and man, he was taken way too early. I would like to think Eddie would still be involved with the WWE. I think if anything, obviously he'd be on the Legends contract and make like certain appearances. Tyler, yo, what's going on? Obviously, I think he'd be involved with appearances every now and then. But I very much think that Eddie would be involved with, like, the Performance Center. Training wrestlers, teaching them, whether it was, on promos, obviously in the ring. I can't wait for tonight. What match are you looking forward to the most, Tyler? I know a lot of people are looking at the War Games matchups, but for you personally, what's a matchup that you're looking most forward to? And who do you think is winning? Welcome to the stream. We're just talking about some of the past. We're talking about WrestleMania, potential matches there. War Games, let's go. You better believe it. Love War Games. Who do you think's winning? War Games should be a great show. The last few War Games matchups, whether it was last year's or the year before's, they've been solid. And this one, tonight's show will be fire. Damn right. Absolutely. I love it. The original War Games matchup that happened in 2022. When I say the original, I mean the WWE main roster version. Obviously, we have WCW, the NWA, and NXT. Those versions of the War Games. But for the main roster WWE War Games, the first matchup was cool because it was the Bloodline getting together, working as a team, facing off baby faces like the Brawling Brutes. Drew McIntyre was there as well. Kevin Owens was there. The following year was like the Judgment Day versus the group of baby faces, which was cool because we got the super team of Cody, Sammy, Jay was there as well. And Randy Orton. Can't forget Randy Orton. But this year, man, War Games tonight is going to be huge. Bloodline versus Bloodline. What feels like could be the culmination of years of storytelling, really, truthfully, is only the next chapter. Because we know WrestleMania 41 will have some kind of huge involvement with the story. But to see the names like Jacob Fatu, Bronson Reed on the same team, to see Roman Reigns and CM Punk on the same team, to see the Usos reunite, to see Sami Zayn back in the group, and then Paul Heyman, of course, at the center of it all. Who is he really with? Is he with CM Punk? Is he with Roman Reigns? Is he even with the baby faces? So much to unpack there. I can't wait for all the matches, but my favorite match are the men's War Games and the women's War Games. Solid picks. You can't go wrong, Tyler. I have to agree with you there. I'd have to agree with you. But the War Games matchups, like I said, the Bloodline one, so much to unpack. A lot of storytelling, a lot of layers on top of layers, like a great layer of lasagna. You got layers and layers. I don't know what's going to happen. I personally think Solo Sikoa's group's going to win, just because of the further of the storyline. I think it'd be very hard for the heels to remain credible if they lose and have the babyfaces go over. I don't know. I think we do see The Rock. Those in the chat, I think we do see The Rock. I think he makes an appearance. I know we just saw him at Bad Blood, but this matchup is too big to not have some kind of cliffhanger. I don't think we get a definitive end to the show. Like I said, I think Solo's group wins, but I think the Rock makes an appearance. And even then, just to play devil's advocate, will you be live after the show? I will be live after the show, Alex. If anything, it might be somewhere between 15 to 20 minutes after the show ends. That's usually the sweet spot. I try to go, no more than a half hour. I try to get it right after the show. Only thing I wasn't able to do that for SmackDown last night. Fortunately, I worked overnight, so we didn't have time or a chance to do that. That's why we're doing the show right now. But yeah, look for the live post-show reaction following the Survivor Series, and what I'm hoping will be a huge show. Survivor Series has usually been considered to have been a member of the Big Four. Obviously, Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, and the Survivor Series. There was a time being there where it kind of wasn't on the same level, but with the War Games matchup included, I think it's kind of reestablished itself as a main PLE across the entire calendar year. But talking about the ending of the show, I don't think we get a clean finish. And what I mean by that is I don't think we get a team winning and then the end of the show. I think The Rock shows up no matter what. I think maybe Solo's team wins the matchup. Maybe we get a brawl afterwards and the babyfaces are standing, or the babyfaces win, whatever. But I think there's a moment that The Rock is going to come out. He's going to look at that ring again. And we're going to have some kind of stare down, some kind of face off between he and Roman Reigns. I think it just makes sense. Especially knowing that after Moana 2, or no, the live action Moana has been wrapped up on filming. Apparently it's what the dirt sheets are saying. He has time to hop on a plane and just show up for like 10 minutes. I think it happens. I'm calling it now. Tiffany Stratton, she's going to cash in tonight. Tyler, that's huge. That is huge because I didn't even consider that. I don't think a lot of people are considering that because I haven't seen a lot of people discussing that. But that is a really good possibility. Can you imagine? War Games opens up, right? That's because we know it's going to open the show. We have a huge match between the women, a brawl, a full-out war in War Games, bodies lying everywhere, and whoever wins the matchup. For the sake of the conversation, I said the baby faces go over. I think Team Rhea / Bianca goes over. Can you imagine? They're in the ring celebrating. Hands raised. They make their way to the back, and it's like, well, the camera's still on them. We're not cutting back to the next segment. What's going on? And you see Tiffany Stratton motion to someone. I don't know. She has it under the ring, maybe. I don't know. She motions to the timekeeper, and she cashes in immediately after the matchup while Nia Jax is laid out, winning. I mean, even then, I don't think she cashes in on Liv. It's going to be Nia Jax. But Tiffany Stratton will literally have both champions in the ring at the same time. Think about that. She will have her choice in Liv or Nia. That is a fantastic point, Tyler, that I did not even consider. She has both of them in the same place. In a War Games matchup, you know they're going to be worn out after the carnage and destruction that takes place within both rings. Fantastic point. That was a great point. Does she cash in? I don't know. But I mean, hey, the fact that not a lot of people have been pointing to that, and if you pay attention close enough, WWE, they try to show their hand, right? When the WWE hints at something, it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. It's a swerve. We're trying to divert your expectations. We're trying to deceive you. But when they don't hint it, and they try to push it to the back burner, that's when they pull the trigger. So you might be onto something there, Tyler. You might be onto something there. And also because I look at the card, and a lot of times they try to have at least one or two title changes. Something monumental, something important. I don't see Gunther losing the title. I don't see LA Knight losing the title. Braun Breaker, maybe, but he just won it back from Jay. And if Sheamus wins it, I feel like it should be at a main show. I feel like it should be at a bigger show. No disrespect to Survivor Series, but, maybe the IC title. But if none of those change hands, it's very rare for a show to not have a title change on a main show like this. Maybe it's a cash-in. Peter Parker, you changed the time on me. Your boy was waiting for you last night. I didn't realize who scheduled live for later. Man, Peter, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry that the times got changed. I did post something on the community tab where I said that I was going to be moving it to today at 12 p.m. on a Saturday afternoon. I'm sorry there's a little bit of miscommunication there. Keep an eye out for the community tab, though. I post stuff every now and then, especially when it comes to the schedule. Sometimes I'm not able to record something or go live like I was last night, but check the community tab. When in doubt, check the community tab, especially last night. If you saw I wasn't there or if I don't have the countdown, then it's at a different time. But, man, I'm sorry. Well, I'm glad you're here now, Peter. I'm glad to have you here. We're just talking about the Survivor Series War Games. We just talked about SmackDown, obviously, but we're on to War Games, previewing it, sharing our predictions, sharing what matchup that we're looking most forward to. So if you want to go ahead and join the chat, comment down below on what matchup you're looking forward to. What are some predictions? Go ahead and chime in. Tyler just brought up a great point. He says that he thinks Tiffany Stratton is going to cash in tonight. And I just talked about how that is something that went over my head. I didn't even think of that. But to think that Nia Jax and Liv Morgan are going to be in the same ring at the same time? What time start pay-per-view in Arizona? It's like 2 p.m. for me. So I believe 2 p.m. is the pre-show, is the kickoff show, whatever they call it nowadays. And it says on Peacock that it starts at 2 p.m. for me, because I'm in Arizona time. And it's like a 6-hour show. We know that the countdown show, pre-show, kickoff show, is going to be at least an hour. So does that mean the War Games show is 5 hours? I don't think so. So it's either going to be 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock. I would trust 3 o'clock. It says 2 o'clock, but I think that's for the countdown show. Either way, I like to watch the countdown show. I don't necessarily watch it, and but I have it in the background just so I know what's going on. Maybe they show a cool video package. But 2 o'clock is when the actual countdown show starts. I think 3 o'clock is when the actual show starts. But like I said, it would make it... Oh, you know what, actually? Maybe there's an hour devoted to like the post-media scrum that they do, the post-conference after the show. So I'm going to say 3 o'clock. 2 o'clock I'm thinking is the pre-show, 3 o'clock being the actual show. But it should be good. It should be great. I don't know. What are you guys thinking about the earlier start times for these shows? Recently, they've been talking about how they're going a little earlier. I think it's mostly in part due to our friends overseas and other countries, giving them an opportunity to watch the show as well. which is all fine with me. Hey, the more people watching means the more people want to talk about wrestling, and that's why we have the live post-show reactions, or the J Area podcast, where we all chime in and talk about pro wrestling. So the more people that are watching wrestling means the more people that are going to want to be talking about wrestling. And that's why I like having these discussions with guys like you, Tyler, Alex. Appreciate you guys stopping by as well. Peter, of course, thank you again. I'm here to show my support. I enjoy everything you post. Hope everyone's had a happy Thanksgiving. Thank you, Peter. Likewise. I hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving, a great time to celebrate the year, the life that we've all had, a great time to be giving thanks, even though we should always be thankful, right? It's the one day devoted to it, but it's something that I feel like we all should be expressing every day. So one thing I am thankful for certainly are my friends, my family, people who support me in terms of my venture here with the J Area podcast and the live show reactions, but especially you guys who join me on these reactions as well, who watch the videos, who subscribe, who like the videos, who give me feedback to let me know what I can do better, or what are some things that you want to talk about. So I'm very thankful for that and grateful for that as always. I would not be here without you guys, for sure, because if there was no one watching it, there would be no reason to be doing it. So I appreciate you guys and thank you. Any thoughts on Seth Rollins attacking Punk and Bronson Reed after the match? I did consider it, because I picked the heels to win because I feel like there's so much against the baby faces. We could see Seth even attack Punk during the matchup, just solely because of the hatred he has for Punk and Roman Reigns. Now, his story is not done with Bronson, so it might be a 50-50 there. But when it comes to that War Games matchup, like we talked about earlier, layers and layers, there are so many things going on. Seth Rollins, maybe we get an appearance by him. We didn't see him on Raw last week. Maybe we get an appearance here by Rollins, and it leads to some kind of attack or confrontation between Punk. What if we have something similar to... Okay, hear me out. Bear with me here. I don't know if you guys are huge fans of All Elite Wrestling, but bear with me. I don't think it's going to happen, but can you imagine if WWE pulls off something similar to what Full Gear, how we had the run-ins by Hangman Page, Jay White, Darby, and the Death Riders. Now, that was its own thing, and we can talk about that another time. You want to talk about it now? Hey. But what if we have something where it's like Seth Rollins is attacking Punk, and there's a brawl between him and Reed, and through the midst of it all, the babyfaces and the heels are fighting again. Roman against Solo, Jacob, Fatu, and Bronson Reed against the Usos, and then out of nowhere, if you smell, and then out of nowhere, The Rock just comes out, and the war ceases. And everyone is standing, and they just see The Rock, the final boss, with the goosebumps and all. And everyone just stops, and The Rock is there. Now, I don't know what happens from there on out, but the moment that could happen, full-out war, the War Games is over. The match is over, but the fight continues, and The Rock comes out, ceasefire. Kevin, what's going on? I just realized you joined the chat. Good to see you too. That commercial with CM Punk and Reigns was awesome. Heyman in the middle. Thank you guys for joining the chat. Thank you for joining the live as well. Sorry about the change in schedule. Like I said, keep up to date with the community tab. I do post any changes when it comes to the live reactions. Obviously, I wasn't able to do it last night. We had a chance to do it today. Again, 12 p.m. afternoon is when we started. And as a way to recap SmackDown, but also preview what's going on for the Survivor Series. So like I said, always make sure to check the community tab if you don't see that I'm live. Usually I'll have said something in a post, or a lot of times I'll have the video already prepared and it'll just be waiting. It'll be scheduled. So keep an eye on that. 9 times out of 10, it won't change though. 9 times out of 10, it will still be right after the show ends. But obviously, due to circumstances last night, your boy had to work a late night shift. Didn't have a chance to watch SmackDown until 1 a.m. this morning. So, got to watch SmackDown, got to get my feelings in order, and now we're talking WWE. Great to see you all in the chat, by the way. This might be a little bit lengthy, if anything, because we're trying to get people in. I love it. Keep it coming. Keep the chats coming in. Let's keep talking about pro wrestling, especially being that Survivor Series, like I said, just a few hours away. I mean, it's already, 1 o'clock here in Arizona time. Do you like NXT? I love NXT. And there was a short time, I will say early NXT 2.0 kind of took me out of it because I was so much into NXT Black and Gold. Like that was so good. That was like the type of wrestling that I liked, right? But what Shawn Michaels and company have been able to do with the current crop of NXT is fantastic. I mean, there's so much talent, there's so much potential. The presentation's unique, which is awesome because it's literally it's WWE. It's still WWE, but it feels different. It has a different flair, a different flavor to it. And I love that. I love that. And the women's division is on fire. Like, I think the argument could be made. Maybe not even an argument. But the women's division is probably better than the men's division on NXT. I mean, you look at the talent, right? Stephanie, Julia, Roxanne, Cora Jade, Kaylani. I mean, and that's just naming the ones off the top of my head. There's still other people like Petrovich. There's still people like Lola Vice, Jada Parker. NXT is on fire. But I do think their main event scene might need some help here. Ridge Holland's going to be fighting Trick Williams, which I'm fine with. Again, in terms of narrative, it makes sense. I actually look forward to the matchup. I like what they're doing with him. Funny how DX presented itself as anti-corporate, but now runs the corporation. This is something that my brother and I laugh at all the time. Because you go back 25 years, and they were so anti-establishment. You know, they had, the crotch chop. They were telling the crowd, suck it. They were just so anti-authority. And now Triple H is running the main roster and just overall creative. Shawn is running developmental, which, by the way, shout out to Shawn Michaels because his involvement during the segment with Eddie Thorpe was crazy. We haven't seen that much heat coming off of Shawn in quite some time. The way he pushed Eddie Thorpe against the, I don't know what you want to call it, like the gate that rises up. But man, to see DX in full control is ridiculous. It's honestly crazy to think, especially now that they were like threatening. And you go back to 2006 when Shawn and Hunter were threatening to take over the WWE and get rid of Vince. And it's like now Vince is gone. Probably for the best. Probably for the best he's gone. But now Shawn and Triple H are running the show. Isn't that crazy? That's like, wow. It's a really good point there, Kevin. But I want to hear from you guys. So I've obviously been doing the post-show reactions. Now that we have a little bit of people here joining, we have Kevin, Tyler, Alex, appreciate you guys. I've been doing the post-show reactions, doing my lives, talking about the show, but here we are on a Saturday afternoon. What are your guys' feelings about doing lives during the day? Not necessarily like all the time, but I just kind of want to get a feel for what people are open to, what they're interested in. Would you like something on the weekend? Maybe just a free forum where we're just talking in general. You can ask questions. We share stories, whatever. But like I said, I always do them after Raw and SmackDown, after a major PLE or pay-per-view. But I have been thinking about maybe Sundays. I don't post on Sundays. That's the one day of the week where I don't really post. But I'm open to doing something more in terms of the live streams, if that is something you guys are interested in. Of course, I always leave it up to you guys and welcome your guys' input, your comments, your questions. But I have a lot of fun doing the live streams. It gives me a chance, like I said, to connect with you guys. We talk about whatever's going on, whether it's pro wrestling, whether it's the PLEs, whether it's the past, present, or future. I leave it up to you guys. At the end of the day, this is not only my YouTube channel, it's called the J Area for a reason because we're all members of it. You should doing it in a call show or something. An in-call show. Yeah, I have thought about that, but I have to figure it out. I've only been doing this since March. I had been doing it like on and off in the previous like year or two. But in terms of like this current iteration of the channel and what I've been doing, I've only been doing it since March. So that is something I certainly would be interested in. I'd have to look into it. But I think that'd be a great idea to do a call-in show and just answer questions, talk topics. I would ask you guys questions if anything, because I mean I could talk it all day. I love the history of it all, the current state of it all, but to get other people's perception and opinions on what's going on currently or what's going on in the past, in the future, I'm very open ended when it comes like that. So I welcome the idea of a call show. So I'd have to do some research, see what I want to do with that, whether it would either be like on call or maybe a Discord. Did you see that promo between Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes? I think Cody said the only person holding KO back is himself. Yeah. Yeah. We talked about a little bit about that, about Kevin Owens and Cody. That matchup could have happened tonight at Survivor Series. I think that was certainly a match that warranted a big stage. But I am happy that it's going to be the main event of Saturday night's main event, because that's a show that really needed something juicy, something big. And this is a matchup for sure that fits the build. Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes slowly but surely has become one of the premier stories in the WWE. At Bash in Berlin, we got a taste of it, but now with a full-fledged heel Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes, a vengeful Cody Rhodes, being that his friend and mentor Randy Orton had been attacked by the pile driver that was driven by Kevin Owens, man. It's only building and building. Kevin Owens' segment on SmackDown last night, where he talked about why he was right and how Cody Rhodes sided with the guy who has tormented the roster, including Kevin Owens, including Cody Rhodes. Why? Why would you do that? So in a way, Kevin's not wrong. Maybe it's the way he's going about it. But, I mean, he does kind of have a point. Anyways, I keep saying Kevin Owens and Kevin's right here in the chat. So, shout out to Kevin and Kevin. Let's see. Like I said, we're only a couple hours away from the show. We'll probably be calling it. I'll run another one until 1:30. Again, that's 1:30 my time. Don't know what your guys' time is, but we'll run for another 10 minutes here. Really enjoy the conversation and the reaction. Obviously, again, if you're in the chat right now, if you're joining the live stream, we will be doing another live stream following Survivor Series. We will be doing it probably within like a 15 to 20 minute after the fact, after the show. I'm going to be skipping the post-show conference that they always do. I'll watch that at a later date. And if something significant happens during that post-show reaction, following the pay-per-view where they have Triple H sit down and read the numbers, if something happens there, then I will do something else on that. But 15 to 20 minutes after the Survivor Series, I will be going live again to discuss what had happened and what will be moving forward in regards to Saturday night's main event. Probably the Royal Rumble, because that's the next premium live event on the docket. Who attacked Jade Cargill? It's Bianca Belair or someone. So like I said, make sure to join the live following the Survivor Series where we will talk about what had taken place. Tyler, to address your comment here, who attacked Jade Cargill? It's Bianca or someone else. I think there's only 3 options. 4. Hear me out. When I say 4, it's because it could be someone that we don't know. Someone that we haven't seen in a while. I think you should always keep that in mind, that maybe it's someone to be revealed later. But barring a surprise, I think we're looking at Bayley, we're looking at Naomi, and we're looking at Bianca. Those are the 3. The reason it could be Bayley, who had the most to benefit from joining, or who had the most to benefit from attacking Jade Cargill? Bayley. She joined the team. She got to join the squad of War Games. That's the argument that could be made there. People say that she can't be trusted because of her time with Damage Control. She has a history with Bianca. That's the argument to be made for Bayley, but in the same breath, you could use that as a way to, exonerate her and to give her a sense of freedom, because there's always like that. It's so obvious it can't be them. So Bayley for me is number 3. Number 2, Naomi. Naomi, because she was friends with Bianca Belair. She, if anything, has taken a back seat to a lot of what's been going on between Bianca and Jade. Those two are the top stars in the division. They have gold. She's always felt like the third wheel, Naomi. I love Naomi. She's great. I've been a fan of hers all the way back to the Funkadactyls, if you remember her dancing with Brodus Clay and Cameron. She's always had that it factor, athleticism, the charisma, the look. She has it. But she's felt like that third wheel. So why wouldn't she want to turn on Bianca and Jade and attack Jade Cargill? Maybe. But then that leads me to number one, Bianca Belair, the tag team champion, and Jade's partner. I'm thinking Jada Parker from NXT. We've seen time and time again that WWE has been breaking up these tag teams. Look at DIY. Look at The New Day. Look at Austin Truth. They've been breaking up tag teams. What's to say that they don't break up the champions? Jade Cargill and Bianca have been partners all year. And most recently, we saw Liv Morgan kind of introduce the possibility of jealousy between the two. You see, Bianca claims to be the EST of WWE, the fastest, the strongest, the best, the toughest, the roughest of WWE. But a lot of hype has been towards Jade Cargill. She's the wild card. She's unknown, unproven, and so much untapped potential that is common when discussing Jade Cargill. We haven't seen Bianca Belair as a heel, I think, since NXT. Maybe it's time to turn her heel, because we know the eventual feud between Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair is just around the corner. I personally think Jade would be the better heel and have Bianca as the babyface. But for narrative's sake, maybe we go Bianca to change it up a bit. So, who attacked Jade? He says it's Bianca Belair or someone. I think it's Bianca Belair or Naomi. It's one of those. What I want to know is, are they going to strip Bianca of the tag titles? Because how long is Jade out? We never got a timetable. We just know she's going to be out indefinitely. Because if you remember, Chelsea Green had teamed with Sonya Deville when they had won the tag titles. And what did Chelsea do? She just got Piper Niven to fill in. So what if, again, because I'm all about continuity here, Chelsea was able to have Piper Niven fill in for Sonya Deville. What if Bianca Belair is given that same opportunity and has Naomi fill in for Jade? If they go that route and Naomi fills in for Jade and she is the champion, then it's Naomi. Because now you're telling me she benefits and becomes a champion off of the Jade Cargill attack. I hope they go that route just for continuity's sake, because Chelsea Green set the precedent. Her partner got injured. They allowed Piper Niven to slide in and take that role. So why can't Bianca do that? Naomi slides in. She takes the role of Jade Cargill. She helps defend those tag titles. Who benefits? Naomi. Who doesn't? Jade. If they do that, then the role is going to be Naomi. But I think regardless, it's Naomi or Bianca. Those are the two suspects. The two lead-in suspects. Big Niff Network, OG Solo. One could even say, I love you, Solo. Like how Jacob Fatu says, oh, you acknowledge Solo. Are you saying you acknowledge Solo, or you acknowledge the OG Solo, like NXT Solo? Because that's the question, really. Real quick here, because he brought up Solo. What are your guys' thoughts on Solo Sikoa? Naomi's washed. Oh, no. You think she's washed? That's a shame. I think maybe she just needs a better opportunity. She hasn't really been presented as like, you know, the potential she has. But I mean, hey, maybe she can change her mind with a little heel run. Solo, I wanted to talk about real quick. I call him OG Solo. Okay, all good. I was just curious. OG Solo. I love what they're doing with Solo Sikoa recently, because early on during this iteration of the Bloodline, they've been trying to kind of portray him as like a knockoff of Roman. He tried to be serious. He tried to be, going into a city and saying, acknowledge me. But most recently, in the last month, he's kind of, they never used her correctly. Hopefully that changes, right? Hopefully that changes. Solo. In the last month, they've kind of had him present a little bit more personality, differentiating him from Roman Reigns. You talk about when he was when interacting with the Motor City Machine Guns. He mocked Chris Sabin. He mocked Roman Reigns for the way they spoke. He entered the arena during Jey Uso's matchup for the IC title, came out with the tickets, and he's had these facial expressions. They're giving him more room for personality, and I like that about Solo. Because if I'm Solo, and if I'm flanked by the Tongans, by Jacob Fatu, and now by Bronson Reed, I'm going to have a little bit of air of confidence. I'm going to have a little bit of arrogance to me. I'm going to be having a little times where I'm puffing out my chest because I know I got the big boys with me. So I like that he's having these kind of these interactions with people where he's so overconfident and arrogant with people. And it makes it more so that the fans want to see him lose. I want to see this guy get his teeth knocked out. I want to see this guy get knocked out by Roman Reigns just because of how cocky and how annoying he is. So I like what they're doing with Solo in that regard. Solo looks super menacing. Recently, he's kind of came into his own. He's improved so much. I agree, Kevin. I love that he's kind of came into his own and developing that confidence where he was like the younger brother of the Usos or whether he was the cousin of Roman Reigns. He's now developing his own presence, and I love that. I think Jade Cargill, she's going to be out for 4 months. Man, that'd be a shame. That would be a shame. The black chick last night used Jade's kick. Maybe. I mean, hey, he's got a point. Big body tsunami. Big body tsunami. What are we talking about? We're talking about Solo. We're talking about Jade Cargill. Going to be out for 4 months. Okay, I don't know how much you guys follow the reports. But apparently, this might be one of the last talking points here for the live reaction here. Reports are saying that she is injured and that she might miss WrestleMania. We don't know if that's true or not. Again, these are just reports. We can't consider them fact. I always look at them as kind of like a feeler out. You know what I mean? You kind of just get an idea of what's going on. I don't use them as concrete fact. It's just an idea. Some people are saying that she's going to be out until WrestleMania, maybe past WrestleMania. Other reports are saying she's not even hurt and that this is all a work. We don't know. So out for 4 months, out past WrestleMania, not even injured. We don't know what's going on with Jade. And I hope she's okay. I hope, in fact, she's okay. Because if she is, then this is tremendous for the WWE. For them to be able to blend the lines of reality is so crucial to the success of a story. Now, if she really is injured, that's a shame. We hate that. We want to see the best versus the best, and I wish her a speedy recovery. But the thing is, we don't know. I think Solo Sikoa. So keep an eye on Jade. I think for certain, if she does come back, if she is able to come back, it's by the Royal Rumble. If that's, meaning that she's okay. If she is injured, well, then we wish her the best. We wish her that she gets a speedy and healthy recovery. That way she can come back full force and go on a singles run. I think Solo Sikoa, he needs to go to the gym. Hey, not everybody can have the body of Roman Reigns, right? But Solo Sikoa, I think, has come into his own as a heel. Certainly as a dominant heel within the last year. The chick last night did all of Jade's power moves 2 on SmackDown. Weird. Is it weird? Or is it, for a reason? Everything happens for a reason nowadays. In the WWE, I feel like a lot of things happen for a reason. There's no coincidences, especially when it comes to SmackDown, because that is the Bloodline show. So little details like that matter. So I'm glad you picked up on that. Because I will confess to you, I didn't pick on that. Now, I will say I was watching the show like at 1 o'clock in the morning. So I might have been, kind of in and out. But I'm going to go back and I'm going to check that out. Real good point to point out there, Mr. Network, Big Net Network. But yeah, part of storyline for Jade Cargill, like Randy Orton. We'll see. I guess we'll have to wait and see, right? We'll have to wait and see. And that's another thing for Randy Orton. I think he'll be back by the Rumble. I don't see them having him past that. So, but again, for those in the chat, for those attending the live reaction, the live stream here, keep an eye out. 15 to 20 minutes after the Survivor Series event, I'll be going live. We'll be sharing our reactions, talking about what just happened, talking about what will happen in the future leading up to WrestleMania 41. Keep an eye out. Of course, KO should beat Cody. That is a good point. I've seen this a lot, and honestly, I wouldn't be opposed to it. I think it's high time Kevin Owens gets an opportunity at a World Championship again. He hasn't held a world title since 2017, before he lost to Goldberg in a matchup that I thought should have never happened, but I digress. That's something for a different talk. Kevin Owens, I think, could beat Cody Rhodes. Will they do it? I don't know, because of his involvement with The Rock and Roman Reigns. I feel like they're going to want that title on center stage. They want that title around Cody Rhodes, around the bloodline. It's got to be the big prize. Now, could Kevin Owens hold the title for a little bit here? Maybe. Cody regains it at the Rumble. Cody regains it at the Elimination Chamber. Maybe. But I think it is something that they should consider. Kevin Owens should beat Cody Rhodes. Or, okay. We know Cody's going to be involved with The Rock and Roman somehow. You could say that matchup is big enough to not have the title. Kevin Owens wins. Randy comes back, challenges Kevin Owens for the title, maybe wins to get another world title. Maybe. Kevin versus Randy. We never got a definitive matchup there between them because of the no contest finish at Crown Jewel. Maybe. This year's WrestleMania is on pace to be one of the more unpredictable WrestleManias in recent memory, because there are so many different storylines that we could go with, whether it's John Cena in his last WrestleMania, whether it's Randy Orton versus Kevin versus Cody, maybe Cody versus The Rock, Rock versus Roman, Rock versus, there's so much, Seth versus Punk. There's so much that could be going on, and that's just in the men's division. We're not even talking about the women's division. We talk about Tiffany Stratton. Will she be champion by then? Where will Nia Jax be? Will we get Bianca versus Jade? Rhea versus Liv? Will that ever end? There's so much that could happen. Should be better than this year. It very well could be. And that's why we're here. That's why we joined the post-show reactions, to talk about our feelings, to talk about what's going on in the world of professional wrestling. But I will say, it's been great talking with you guys. Always love coming to the lives and talking pro wrestling with you. Like I said, remember, 15 to 20 minutes after, keep an eye out. I'll have a reminder for the post-show reaction. Make sure to join after the Survivor Series so I can share my thoughts, so you can share your thoughts, and we could talk about what had happened and what will happen in the next few months leading into WrestleMania 41. Of course, my name is Jose Ramos Jr. Thank you guys for joining me on this post-show reaction, even though it's well over a day after SmackDown. But nonetheless, I appreciate you guys as always. Belated happy Thanksgiving. Happy holidays to everyone as we enter the December month of 2024. Of course, my name is Jose Ramos Jr., and I'll be seeing you guys shortly after the Survivor Series. Hopefully, you guys enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Enjoy the show, and I'll see you guys